Just brief encounter.
A lot of non-linear storytelling this
True.
year.
Yeah, very much. A lot of Nazis and a lot of non-linear
Yeah,
storytelling.
the two big trends of 1945.
Non-linear Nazis.
Yeah, Brief Encounter. What a picture.
Yeah. This is honestly incredible. This is like one of the this is probably one of the best movies I've ever seen, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of movies. It is very good.
yeah, it's up there.
Um,
It's up there.
yeah, it's up there. Yeah,
I think that like more than many movies we've watched lately, I'm like, this is pretty like there's something special about this movie. Something a little
yeah, yeah.
transcendent about this movie.
This movie does sort of. It feels like it's bottling something very, very kind of powerful,
Mm.
which is also, I think, one of the strengths of this movie. It's funny because of how emotional this movie gets. I think is in part due to how restrained it is. Also, like
Yeah.
this is like very much the
It,
flip side of The Lost Weekend, which is like attempting to tell this very powerful story, and it's just like hammering it into the audience like too much.
yeah.
And I feel like Brief Encounter is like so understated, and that makes it all the more like
Like heart-wrenching.
emotionally devastating. Yeah,
Yeah, like this is a movie I think you bring that up. Like this is a movie that is all about the kind of interplay between restraint and letting your emotions
yeah,
go.
yeah, very much. This is the first David Lean movie that we're talking about. Not his
Mhm.
first movie, but won't be the last one. And a brief plot synopsis, I guess, is that well, it opens right with man and woman sitting at a table, and then one of the woman's friends sees her and like comes over and like is trying to make conversation, and they're like, "Oh no, like we were just saying goodbye," and so they sort of leave, and then the woman is sort of thinking about it and flashes back to having met this guy who just left, and the movie is the story of them having a mostly emotional affair over the course of a couple of weeks
Yeah.
before it then returns to that same scene at the end.
Yeah. Yeah,
And once
and
again, kind of like recontextualizing it, and it is so like it is so like frustrating watching it the second time, especially. It is like oh, it is like I want to pull my hair out.
it's like shut up, shut up, shut up.
I know, yeah, because it's like right, it's the that scene at the beginning is their sort of like final goodbye. They've had this like incredibly emotionally charged, like very, very strong uh romantic relationship that is defined by it being restrained and kind of bottled.
Mhm.
And this is like their final goodbye. They're like, we're gonna not gonna see each other ever again after this. And then like this woman just comes in. It's like, "Bah, bah, bah, how are you? Bah," and it's just like ruins it, ruins their like heartfelt goodbye. And it is,
Yeah.
yeah,
It like something like that. I think it's so interesting, right? It's like it's a movie that it would be this kind of thing where it is like just really leaning all the way into these big emotions.
David leaning.
David, yeah. And what is it doing with like just cutting it short, right? It's like it's like you're getting ready to feel these feelings and then something like mundane gets in the way.
Hmm.
It's in a way it's like deromanticizing a little. Well, I don't know if that's true. I feel like I had a thought about that, but I lost it. But anyway, yeah.
But I think like I don't know my biggest takeaway from this movie is how much the like restraint and the bottledness of it like just makes it feel so much more like intense. Like this is
Yeah.
such a like quiet, very British movie. Also, that everyone's like, oh dear, I cannot possibly speak what is in my heart. And like, I think the movie is somewhat kind of critical of that British instinct to kind of like keep your emotions in,
Yeah.
because it is like we see how much I don't know. Another thing that I think is really good about this movie is that it's like you definitely, I as an audience member, like I want to see these two people like be happy and find some way of like ending up together or something like that. But it is like
Yeah.
they're both married, not unhappily. Like they both have like pretty good marriages that are maybe
Yeah.
like a little bit boring is like the worst you could
Mhm.
say about them. But I like how it's like when they show Laura, the main character's husband, I think his name's Fred. He's just like
There's nothing
he's
wrong with
fine. Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
like a normal dude. He's very nice. He's like they
It
get
would be
along really well. There's like no it seems like there's no, ill feelings that either of them have towards each other.
it would be so convenient and it would be so easy for them to
Mhm.
make him a bad person, right? But,
Mhm.
like, having him be a decent guy who she just is not like, didn't even realize until she was head over heels for somebody that she wasn't head over heels for him, right? It makes it so much more complex. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing with this movie. It is like one of the most like emotionally complex movies I've ever seen. Like
Mm.
what is like all of the dynamics that are going on in people and the decisions that they're making. It's like there's a lot of factors and like like fighting like feelings and like
Yeah.
going on in each person, but it's all kind of like hitting on similar themes with each person. It's like how they react to this, like, do you follow your feelings? But like following your feelings is kind of wrong, but is it wrong to like hurt yourself to not follow your feelings? But like, is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is it wrong to like, and then you flip it over again? It's like, is it worth it to follow my feelings and like blow up everything around me, like for to only be happy? But how wrong is it to like just live not my best life just because I ended up in the wrong circumstances? And like, it's
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much going on in this.
And there's no like right answer to any of that, right? It's
Yeah,
all none of it's easy. It
yeah.
all feels very kind of messy in the way that life so often can. Well, um
It's a lot of ambivalence.
yeah, and it's just like the subtleties of it where it feels like every little like moment and glance feels really impactful because it's so kind
Yeah.
of like yeah, charged but also like very downplayed.
Charged is the word, yeah. Like there is a and with those characters, there's a charge between them, you
Yeah.
know?
And like it takes a long time for them to it takes a very long time for them to admit they have like specifically romantic feelings for each other. But
Yeah.
also just like it's like we see their sort of their they meet each other, right? Like he's a doctor, Alec is the guy. And they meet when he like pulls a piece of like dirt out of her eye at the train
Mhm.
station. Which is already like a very intimate way to meet someone is that they're like touching
Yeah.
your eyeball.
Yeah.
And it's like they kind of by happenstance kind of keep running into each other like at the train station or like in town and things like that, and it's like it starts off as just like this very friendly like oh like this is just this person that I know that I like ran into randomly, but it's like they have so much chemistry that it's like I mean you know where the movie's going to some degree, right? But it's like I like how long it takes for them to kind of like admit it to each other and to themselves. I almost kind of wish the movie stretch that out even more because I like that. I feel like that's kind of
Mhm.
my favorite stuff. Is like they're like, oh, these just like kiss already.
Yeah, yeah. Along those lines, as it's like teasing into like what their life could be together, it does something which I'm realizing now was pretty much a direct reference from La La Land, which is that, but in a different direction, where it's like she has like an incredible like fantasy sequence where she's staring off through a window and she is imagining what their life could be together. And it's just like that end scene of La La Land, but it's like filled with hope, but also dread, rather than like
Mm.
wistful, like wistful what ifness in La La Land. And I just love any of those like kind of fantasy scenes
Right. Yeah.
where it just goes off into like a non-literal black space and people are frolicking around. I love that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, same. Yeah. Also, like this movie does have a lot of dread in it for being ostensibly like a romantic movie.
Yeah.
I mean, especially towards the end when Laura almost throws herself in front of the train. That scene really stuck out to me of just like the way that scene is shot and directed and cut together is like really really effective. It's doing things that are not like the most cutting edge in the 1940s, but I do feel like they kind of stand out of like, oh, they're like trying stuff. Especially like when you can kind of see like the gears turning in Laura's head as she's like contemplating jumping in front of the train. And the
Mhm.
camera is like slowly tilting to the side into a Dutch angle. And it's like, it's such a great way of just, it's like visually showing the sort of like shift in her thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of like
Great sound design
internal
too.
monologue in this movie. Yeah, with the
Hmm.
sound design. Like there's a lot of internal monologue in this movie and I think it's like used really well in these moments where like you're in Laura's mind like the entire time in this movie and like the movie follows her attention as well where like when things are just like when she's kind of drifting away into fantasy like there's something that she's not really paying attention to like the film itself like loses focus along with her
Mm.
and then like the sound kind of fades out and then it goes into her monologue or her, like her internal monologue and I found that to be like so effective like there are you know there isn't a way that people do like thoughts portray thoughts in movies and it's usually with like a slightly echoey version while the person is like sitting and thinking like
The
along with the
classic.
words. But like we haven't seen that done much. Like it's not. It doesn't seem like it's that common
Mm.
exactly right now. I think we've seen it done before, but like I think it's done very gracefully here. I think like it's integrated really well into what's going on in
Mm.
the story or in the moment.
Um,
Um,
it is interesting how many of these, like the last couple of years of movies that we watched, have been kind of flashback narratives. Like they have a framing scene in the beginning, and then it's right. It'll flashback and show sort of how we got here, and that's
yeah,
usually the thing motivating the narration. Either in this case, it is just like her own thoughts, thinking back about like the previous weeks and sort of like how this relationship has developed. Right in Mildred Pierce, it's like it's the police interrogation. In the
it's like
Lost
double
Weekend, I think
indemnity.
Double Indemnity, he's like talking into the dictaphone. Lost Weekend, he's talking to the bartender. They all have some sort of like voiceover narration going on in them, but it's all motivated. None of it's just like, and now there's just voiceover.
Yeah, I that was so shocking to me. Like I had kind of always thought that it's just like, oh, the way this works is that you know, the person is telling the story to the character is telling the story to the audience with voiceover.
Hmm.
But like all so many of these movies, it's like, no, we need to have a justification for why
Yeah,
there is voiceover.
we haven't reached. You might be wondering how I got this situation.
Right. Like, yeah, yeah. Like, it's almost. I forget if I made this. I forget if I said this like last with the last episode or earlier or
Hmm.
whatever. But like, it reminds me of like when close-ups were being used in early movies, and they
Right.
felt like they needed to justify the existence of a close-up
It's like
because
it
it
has
was
to be
just
someone
like
looking through like a telescope or something.
yeah, because it was like this. It was like this formal technique that was breaking the kind of like continuation of reality as they like understood it through the lens of a camera, and
Yeah, yeah,
so like you know something like like a close up is not exactly something that you can do with a human eye or a camera like naturally. And if you're looking at the screen as just like a window, like it wouldn't think you wouldn't change sizes of things. And yet, and so like to ease their way into it, they needed like a diegetic reason, just like the kind of
mm,
artifice of a voiceover. Like they need somebody narrating it to something. They need to show someone narrating it in the movie.
Right. Or like early animation, they have to be like, this is pictures that someone drew, and there's a lot of them. That's how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is like I hadn't really thought about it like that. And that is probably like right, movies now just have narration in them all the time for whatever like just with no justification whatsoever.
Yeah.
And there is like an element to like as I guess like film literacy not necessarily improves, but just like it like there's all these sort of techniques and sort of like storytelling devices that sort of become commonplace and people don't even think about them anymore. And yeah, I guess that is probably just naturally what happened with like voiceover. But I like voiceover being contextualized and motivated. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it adds something to it of like why are we hearing this narration happening?
Record scratch.
Yeah. Right. But then it's like we don't see it. They're not playing a record. Maybe they should. Deadpool should. We should always see him in the sound booth at the end because he
Oh,
knows he's
that's
in a
true.
movie scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Another kind of like film language technique, which felt fairly modern in a way, was like when her friend is like yammering on in the beginning, and she's just like, oh, she says, I wish you'd stop talking, and she's saying like all. She also says, isn't it awful about people trying to be kind? Um, with this scene where like it's putting you in her annoyance, it does like an extreme close up on this person's mouth, like talking and
Hmm.
just like blabbing on, and it feels like something that a modern movie would do, of just like this person's talking so much, like we're going to emphasize this by just zooming in on their lips, just blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. This movie shows like subjectivity really well. Like it really
Yes.
does a good job of like putting you into Laura's head and like her mindset and how she's feeling. I mean, how she's feeling is really the main one because it's like she's pretty miserable throughout the whole movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's tortured. Definitely.
Tortured, yeah, is probably a better word. Because right, they're
Sure.
like most of Act Two is like really pleasant because that's like when her and Alec are spending the most time together and are actually able to
Yeah.
kind of like feel like they're mutually kind of getting something out of their affair.
Yeah.
I also like how this movie is not at all like it doesn't feel judgmental towards either of them. Like it feels very much like this is kind of what both of these people like needed in their life in this moment a
Hmm.
little bit.
Yeah.
While also being like both of them definitely feel a strong kind of like moral guilt around it also.
Yeah. I think like that whole like dynamic, like it's really summed up in this part where Alex says to her, I love you so very much. And then she responds with, I want to die, which is what a moment. What a moment.
That sums up this movie so well.
She's tortured. She's tortured by how much she loves him and what a horrible situation it puts her in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's also just like so many like really well observed, like nuanced portraits of existence. I
Hmm.
like I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
with that scene in particular, like there's that scene in the beginning what we keep talking about with like her friend like just destroying this moment, right? Like that feels very real. It feels very
Yeah.
possible. But then like there's there's like danger lurking over every part of happiness, right? There's like, what if we're found out? Is this
Mm.
okay? All this kind of thing. And like there are all these things that feel kind of true to life, in that like there's like maybe a moment where like you cross a line just like a little bit, you dip your toe over a line, and then something bad happens. Like this happens a couple times in the movie where it's like she dips her toe just a little over the line, and then something kind of unrelated bad happens, and she takes it as like a warning. It's like a
Yeah.
cosmic like
Yeah.
punishment or warning for what she's done. And it's like that kind of like interpreting things around you, I feel like, is such like a natural way of existing in a way.
Hmm. Well, and especially like right that the like that opening scene that is then revisited later is like that's such. I mean, I think yeah, even at this point, that could be such a sort of like cliche like movie moment of like the the forbidden lovers have to say goodbye to each other, and it's like this big emotional tearful scene, and the movie denies the characters that and the audience that's like, no, there's this shitty friend who doesn't know anything about what's going on. It's going to come in and start yapping
Read the
and
room, lady.
ruin this whole moment. And so they just have this like the tiniest little like he like puts his hand on her shoulder and then
Yeah.
leaves, and
Oh,
it's like ah
yeah. This is a movie about like unfulfillment, right? And like
yeah.
when that happens, like their fulfillment of their teary goodbye is not fulfilled.
Mm, yeah,
there
great.
there is there's like a lot of there's like so much stuff in the script that is just like constantly like referring back to itself and like enriching itself, and like there's a
Mm.
couple of like other kind of little side things in the movie, like there's like a movie that they go to that's called Flames of Passion.
Oh yeah.
Like
I love a film within a film.
yeah, and they spend a lot of time in this like convenience store cafe thing in the train station, and like there's like all of these like kind of background contrasting relationships happening with like these side
Mhm.
characters in the train station that like kind of comment on the central relationship in the movie.
I really want to read. This is based on a play by Noel Coward that I think is set entirely in the train station cafe.
Mhm.
That I'd really like to read because it is like I think it's a much sort of since it's all in the train station, it's kind of much more contained, I guess, than the movie is. And I'm curious how like this evolved from that play to the movie. So it also just is like such a great setup for a movie. I think I
Yeah.
initially when I first heard about this movie, I think I'd probably heard of it, and then maybe about a year ago I was at Nighthawk Trivia. Shout out to Nighthawk Trivia. And they showed a clip from it that I think was one of the points where they're like not for the final time, but they're like saying goodbye at the train, like as the train is pulling away. That classic sort of like it does have one of those scenes in it of like the train is pulling away and I'm like, no, I have
Yeah.
more to say.
Yeah.
And they showed us like a little clip of one of those scenes. And I was like, holy shit, what is this movie? Like, I need to see this. Just because it was one scene that felt so again charged of just like it was, I don't know, like a minute, 2 minutes of the movie, and I was like, whoa, like this really like hit me. And I think the when I initially sat down to watch it, I thought it took place over like one night, or it was like a much kind of
Mm.
like smaller scale movie. And so I'm like I don't think the play is one night either, but I do love stories like that where it's like whatever ships passing in the night, whatever. They're just like there's like they didn't have long, but but the time they had was lived to its fullest. Like I don't know. There's something very compelling in that kind of setup to me.
Yeah.
And I think this movie takes that sort of like that feeling, whatever that sort of like mixture of like frustration and gratitude and hope and despair. It's like cramming it all into this like pretty small box and just letting it
Yeah.
all stew into a lovely soup. A lovely warm, very English soup.
What's the most English soup?
I
They
don't
have
know.
notable
Like
soups.
a beef stew, something like
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. That's true. A beef stew.
Yeah.
Incredible movie. Incredible.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on this?
I mean, I think this is the earliest David Lean movie that I've seen, and it is like I've seen his like big '60s like Lords of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, those movies that are like so big in scale and so like masterfully directed, and I think this is a like much smaller scale movie, and it still feels so well directed. It feels like so
Mhm.
confident and sort of precise and all of the adjectives that are used to describe good direction in movies. So it's I guess sort of like watching the Kurosawa movie where it's like, oh yeah, there was like these guys had a good handle on how to make movies early. Although this is like not that early for Dave. I think David Lean had already directed a good bunch of pictures at this point.
He'd done 3 before.
Okay.
One of them was Blithe Spirit, which is a comedy by uh, from a Noel Coward script that came out the same year.
Hmm. Good collaboration, I guess. I would like to watch Blythe Spirit at some point, but I guess we figured 2 David Lean, Noel Coward movies in one episode was too much.
Yeah, I saw Blithe Spirit some number of years ago at the Nitrate Picture Show, and I remember enjoying it a good amount.
Cool.
Yeah,
Which was better, this or Blythe Spirit?
this was better.
It's a high watermark.
Yeah, yeah.
High bar is set by this movie.